I kept you waiting, huh? Oh, time for the TFNation video. Imagine if I was doing this in August. Truth be told, I came back from the thing and my voice was just sort of cutting out for a good 2 weeks, so I had to wait to do it anyway. Well, we're doing it now, so here we go. Returning to TFNation was, of course, really good, because why wouldn't it have been? Just being there in the Hilton was just like one of those things where, even though it's been these years that we haven't been there, it's like, oh, I was only here like last week. You know, it gives you that I've only been gone for like 5 minutes feeling. And it was just good to see people and to just be in a thing where, oh, look, here are all these people that I know, you know, more than like 3 of them at a time. That being said, there were still a few people that I wanted to catch up with that didn't get to go, so that was a bit of a shame. But, you know, we are still in a situation, aren't we? Capital A, capital S, a situation. So I got the train there, and this is my first time making my own way to Birmingham, basically. And it was a lot more straightforward than I was expecting, up to the point where I got off the train and was following my sat-nav in the wrong direction, and it wanted me to like go through locked gates and things, and I was like, right, okay, how do I get there then? And I realised I was on the wrong side of the train track. So that was fun, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Even though, of course, I was lugging along my suitcase with the zine box in it. That wasn't, you know, at least like it wasn't full of 100 copies, because I'd already sent out a few in the post, had some put by to send overseas. But it was still like, you know, a heavy box of zines I was carrying. We got there in the end. God, was I relieved to just get in that hotel room and just drop everything and just stop for a lot more than 5 minutes. Anyway, I didn't actually give out any of the zines until Saturday, but I have to say thank you to everyone who was so interested in it and pleased by it. I had plenty of people come up to me and say, oh, have you got one of the zines? I managed to give out every single one I took with me, which actually, you know, hold my hands up and say, has never happened before. Previous years of the RICO zine, we've always had some left over, but this year managed to give out every single one. Just chuck them all out there, and that was in no small part thanks to you showing interest and actually being like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to having one of these. And it was great. Thank you, because I put a lot of effort into that just because it was fun to do more than anything else, and it came out really well. It's the best thing I've ever made. 20 pages of comic book sized full colour Dreamwave guidebook throwback goodness. I'm so proud of it, and next year we're going to do the same, and it's going to be bigger, so keep your eyes out. But thank you to everyone who picked one up. But if you did miss it, then worry not, because it is live online on the blog. It's digitized, and you can click a link down there and you can go and read it if you haven't already. I actually had more of the little bonus bits left over. Well, my like story booklet anyway. So I went, you know what? I'm just going to go over to James Roberts and I'm just going to leave them there and say, can you give the other one to Nick Roche? And he was like, oh, can you sign it for me? And I was like, this is surreal. That was one of the sort of strange moments of the weekend. No idea what professionals would have thought about the stuff that I've made, but it doesn't matter. Until I know for certain, I can imagine they thought it was amazing. So shall we get on with some of the paperwork that I picked up first, just to do that? So I got the Toy Foo zine, which seems to be getting bigger and bigger every year, but then you do have to pay, you know, more for it. But it's all going to charity. I say pay for it. I actually got a comp copy because I've got a picture in here. So I did this picture of Clench here, because of course he was what I picked up last year's sort of Toy Food. They did that stream, didn't they, where it was the weekend that TFNation would have or could have been, and you could pick some stuff up and relive some of that feeling. And I got Clench, so I thought as soon as I knew that the theme was going to be G1.5, I'm going to do a crazy super neon picture of him to go in the book. And yeah, it came out well, but I've got to say, if I was to show you this on a computer screen, it would look at least 10 times more eye-searing. You know, the whole RGB CMYK conversion takes a little bit away. Always fun to see my stuff in something that I didn't have to put together. Next up is a really fun little booklet that I got from our Wads, the Wad Pan. Sometimes it's easy to just call him Nico, but I'm not sure if it is because then no one knows who you're talking about. So he did this little fold-up single sheet wheelie comic. His brother did all the art for it. It's really good actually. It's like a little talent show rap battle thing that Wheelie does, which is great. And then you fold it all open, and you've got more things on that side. So it works essentially like the arty thing that Lee did. But yeah, that's nice, and it's very limited, so I feel quite privileged to have got one of those. Wheelie postcard there from the More Art Gallery people, because as you've been looking at for a little while, I picked up one of the limited jazz prints, which was very nice. It was a bit of a pain to get home in the big tube sticking out of my backpack and all that, and I finally got it framed just the other day. But that's gorgeous, and I keep looking at it and kind of going, wow, how are they allowed to just go full Porsche on that, you know? And like the car has got like the seams down the back that the G1 toy has. It's an amazing piece of art, and to be honest, I'm kind of sad it's like TFNation limited thing, because everyone deserves one of them up on their wall. It was kind of fun having a little chat with the people that were running that as well at the time, because I don't think they were expecting the experience that they got there. Have to say though, I was definitely like magpied over by the big like shiny holographic ones that they had on the table, and it was like, oh, do I want one of them? I don't know. So I might have to try and see what they've got on the website. Here we've got a little postcard from our Joe over at Crosshairs Productions. You know what? Let's do that now. I got to hang with Joe for a bit as well over the weekend, and he gave me a little tiny turbo changer. It turned out to be this kind of banana flavoured ratchet. He obviously had just been sort of given a couple of those bits from one of the stalls, and he was like, oh, do you want one of these? Let's see what you get. And he's cute. I like that actually. And then the final couple of bits were some comics that I took to get signed by none other than Mr. Gary Chalk himself. Don't know if you can make out his signature on either of these, but yeah, I thought, you know what, while he's there, let's actually get something signed for once, because I never do that. I told him how much I liked him in the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury film, because I bet no one has ever mentioned that to him, at least over the weekend that we were there. So with that stuff out of the way, it's time to dig into the meat and potatoes. I know what you're here for. You want to see what I spent my money on. Very first thing, actually, you know, I say bought, but I was actually given quite a few things here. It's always nice to just sort of have people say, oh, have one of these, you know. It's like, what? No, let me give you something for it. But freebies, you know, it's what makes the convention go around, really, isn't it? You know, I had plenty of people say to me, like, oh, how much do you want for the zine? I'm like, no, it's free. I paid for it, so you don't have to. So yeah, the very first thing I got actually was this little G1 model kit, which is, you know, if you know the Kabaya ones, it's a bit like that. None of us are quite sure if it is Kabaya or not. But basically, the nicest thing about it is the little box, you know, because it's proper vintage with all the nice art on it there. What's inside, I've built it already. And by the way, this came from Lee. You may know him as Mellow Shade on Twitter. It's basically just a single colour little tiny kit. I got an Optimus, and I made the mistake of transforming him, because now I can't get the arms apart to transform him back. So I'm just going to have to show you this little tiny pink truck that the camera is like hardly picking up at all. But just take my word for it that it's the same size as like a world's smallest Transformers. It's very much a similar thing, just not painted, and you have to like pull his arms off and put them to the side to transform him. And you had to like put him together out of like 6 to 8 bits. And he's got a gun as well I can't do anything with, because he's supposed to hold that. And then the other fun thing that came in that box was this like 35-year-old Japanese sweet that now looks like a scab. So no, I'm not going to eat it on camera for a laugh. Should we do another freebie? Before the convention, lovely Brentasaur, who is in the zine, approached me to sort of say, oh, how much are these where you are? Can you get some? I'd like to give them out to people as part of the, you know, his Transform Away initiative. And I basically said, well, I'm already like carrying and handing out all the zines. Could you ask someone else? He went, don't worry, I've already asked the perfect person to hand out bones to people. So through Erica, I was given this Kingdom Dracodon from Brent. So that's nice. I've got to say, I had no interest in picking one of these up, but it's an interesting radioactive dinosaur skeleton that I got for free from two of my friends, so it's nice. Keeping with wonderful freebies, Armaya gave me, just straight up, I mean, it's not without precedent, because they gave me the Grimlock from the same series as well for Nout, because they were collecting the chunks of macadam meat to build that thing, but didn't want the actual figure that you're paying 20 quid for in the box. I managed to get a Cyberverse Deluxe Optimus for free, and actually it's really good. Okay, he's a bit kind of shaky, hollow, a little bit empty and light, but like the transformation does like some clever things, and it just makes a decent action figure. Open his chest up, and it comes with like a massive like effect part to stick in his chest, so it looks like his soul is departing his body. It's actually really quite good. So now we move on to things I actually spent money on. The very first thing that I went straight for whatever reason, Hauler. The Velocitron set stuff is just great. I love it. It's just something about it so much better than regular Legacy at the moment. Regular Legacy is just kind of boring, and it feels like they're just phoning it in a little bit. I don't know. Something is missing in terms of the quality of that line, but I loved Earthrise Grapple, so to have him in neon green with a perpetually screaming face, where if you look inside his mouth, that is also green because that's the peg that he's keeping his head on. It's great. Cars in the boxes. Going from Hauler, I essentially instantly turned around and spent far too much money on a pair of what I thought were sealed new G2 figures. The one I thought was sealed but actually had been opened but was in pretty perfect nick, let's be honest, none of the stickers on it, was Drench. I've been after this kind of for a little while. I kept looking at one on eBay and thinking, but essentially it's one of those things where it's like you want to pick it up at TFNation, because this is the kind of thing where the stickers are always knackered. But let's face it, the only reason I really wanted this because it's like tealy turquoise. It's actually pretty rubbish as far as figures go. He's not very good, and you can't get him to hold his Super Soaker without like falling over or like bending him backwards at his knees. If you go and have a look at the wiki now, that's my picture of this one on there because there wasn't a photo of it. So I've used it to do a service for you, the fellow fan. There we go. But the other thing that was actually the most expensive thing that I picked up, which just makes me make a face, pristine chrome G2 Bumblebee that I spent £60 on. I'm not going to linger on that point too much because, you know, that's good for my mental health. Yeah, one of the very first things I just saw that and just went, well, I've seen it, I'm holding it, I'm not going to walk away without it now. The chrome was just, yeah, just drew me in completely. And a good few people I kind of, you know, showed it to, and they were like, oh, what have you bought? And that was the first thing I pulled out, and they were like, oh, that's nice, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it was. I'm not going to tell you how much it cost. I do have the Masterpiece G2 Bumblebee, so I've got a bit of a kind of liking for the look anyway. But you've got to say, that chrome is gorgeous. I did see and hold in my hands a Beachcomber that I would have liked. It looks like a Christmas decoration, but they wanted 80 quid for him. Anyway, let's move on. Keeping it vintage, because I still kind of hold the experience of getting my first book box reissue in Stepper that I got a few years ago to be one of the nicest things I've like ever picked up at a convention. So I have been wanting to get more of them, basically. So when you walk over to the Space Bridge and they've got like a nice little library of them stacked there, I had to have a look through some of them, and while it was annoying that like the best ones that I would have really been after had already gone, I did still manage to pick up a Skids. I mean, we all know, don't we, that G1 Skids is just a nice thing. So I'm glad to have one. I've got to admit that overall it's not as nice. It's not as strong a flavour as when I got Stepper, but whatever. I still can't fault the presentation. His arms sort of do that. I put a few more stickers on him. Most of them were already on there. His stickers up here on his like shoulder wheels weren't on there, and I was thinking, is there a good reason for that? Beyond the fact that you kind of have to sort of squidge them and crease them a bit to get all the like round screw that is in there. And I thought, have they been left off so you can tighten the screw up so they don't do that? Whatever. It's like I can tell why you're not going to put the stickers on his hips here, because you have to squidge his legs in and they'll just like instantly get destroyed when you want to transform him. But yeah, there's Skids. He's nice, he's shiny, and he's basically made me want the Legacy one to be shinier than it actually is. And rounding out Saturday, because it turns out I've been showing you everything that I got on Saturday, Studio Perceptor. I was on the fence for this for quite a while, because I just look at the Titan's Return one that I've got and think, well, that's good enough. It's nice, I like that. I prefer the toy colours and that kind of aspect to it that one has, with the turquoise instead of the blue. But this year I got a reissue G1 Perceptor, and it's so nice, and it was just like, yeah, okay, I'm a Perceptor guy now. It just is a really good robot design, and I don't think there's ever been a bad Perceptor toy. They've all got something going for them. It's just a good look. So to see this one dangling there on the peg at ID for less than I've seen them go on like eBay and that, when I've kind of had a half vibe to go get one myself, I thought, yeah, all right, I'm taking him home. And it's great. I'm so glad I got this. It's one of my favourite figures I picked up at the weekend. It's like a good way to measure how much you like a figure, or how good it is how much you just sort of carry it around your own house and don't want to be very far away from it. And that's what Perceptor is for me. One of those nice sort of comfy sort of figures where it's like, oh, as long as my Perceptor is within arm's reach, everything is fine. But it's just really good, you know, super clean, absolutely no kibble. He's a nice sort of big deluxe as well, you know. It's like when you look at him in the box, he takes up a lot of space in there. Wholesome and hearty figure, this one. So that was the Saturday purchases. Then, of course, we all know what happened on Saturday. The weird script reading from the first draft of Transformers the movie. And yeah, it was just what? I woke up on Sunday morning and started remembering it, and I was thinking, was that actually real? Did that happen? Did other people experience this? It wasn't just a dream I had. So let's move on to what I picked up on Sunday. Just to get them out of the way, let's start with the Cybertron Shadow Recon team. They came from Toy Fu, just because I was just sort of having a look at their table, and it's always a little bit hard for me to find things I actually want on Toy Fu, because a lot of it is, well, to be honest, stuff I've already got. But a lot of it is sort of the kind of thing where I'd rather get it kind of new or in its box, because it's kind of special, you know what I mean? But a few Cybertron Minicons I've never seen before. I thought, yeah, go on then, yeah, let's have them. They're made of light piping. So I think we've got 6-speed, Jolt and Reverb, who is the most interesting one because he's not blue. It's a kind of crystal vibe. They're fun, Minicons are always good. But Jolt here, it's just like, I only recently found out that he's not supposed to be the same Jolt that comes with like Hotshot in Armada. Even though normally he'd be red, like the red helicopter guy in Cybertron is not the same as the red helicopter guy from Armada. Why? Next up is Studio Junk Heap, because Retgar was a pretty perfect figure, wasn't it? Really, that's great. So to have it again with extra like spikes and the guns and the things, yeah, I was going to go for that. I kind of want to say he's better for being just a kind of nobody. He's not really a character, is he? Let's be honest. He's just one of the background ones that has a memorable design, because you actually see his head and chest for more than like 2 seconds. Next up is Universe Night/Cheetor. This was a complete oddity that I wouldn't have picked up if not for our braggy Craigster. Just sort of spotting it while we were both stood around like the ID rummage boxes. He went, oh yeah, look at that, that's good, isn't it? I went, oh well, yeah, I've kind of always wanted one of them. I wouldn't have even bothered to look if you hadn't pointed it out to me. I think this is a really cool figure. It's one of those ones where it's kind of like the design has been always in the back of my head, because it was one of the ones that's in the old definitive guide, you know, the DK book, and you've got the little page with Beast Machines toys in there, and you've got like the blue and yellow version of this. I've known about that for all these years and thought it looked cool, but never seen one. So to see it in a more cheetory, you know, deco. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna have that. Press these buttons, and the swords flip down into his hands, and you press the button, and he does this, and he does the same thing in cat mode, because to be honest, when you transform, all you're doing is like swapping his head around and putting him on all fours. But I just think it's a really cool design. You know, all the clear stuff in here. His face looks a bit more, I don't know, just cool compared to regular Beast Machine Cheetor. I mean, let's face it, that design is a bit like, oh, I would not want to touch that. It's basically making me think about like trans tech, you know, the what if we'd had something after Beast Machines feel is what is going on here that makes me like it. And I guess actually being a Universe Deluxe toy is probably really rare over here, you know. Keeping it Beast themed, one of the last things I picked up, one of anyway, not the, it's Cybershark, Transmetal 2 Cybershark. It was new in his box and I bought it purely because of the chrome factor. Again, I saw this tealy turquoise chrome shine at me from his shark sides in the box, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have you. Yeah, it's a weird toy. I mean, I've never had like RID Skybite. He's obviously, you know, more famous counterpart that totally upstaged this toy, but this is good. It's a good toy. I like the bright green, this dark blue to turquoise fade, and the chrome on his horn up here. Oh, just magnifique. It's really hard to actually do anything with him without all the shark bits getting in the way and falling off, but it looks amazing, and yeah, I'm definitely glad to have this one over Skybite, because it's just the more obscure one. And at the end of the day, I remember it from the advert that was on the Beast Wars VHS cassette that I had when I was like 5. So nice one, mate. Welcome aboard. Now, it seems like every year there's always this one thing there's a pile of in the corner that everyone is kind of after. And this year it was that Creatures Collide box set, wasn't it? Of course, I went in and just like everyone else, I picked it up and thought, I'm not spending 90 quid on that. So, with thanks to the help of a couple of friends who decided to come to me and say, oh, would you want to split it? And like, you can have this bit, I'll have that bit. Oh, you can have that bit as well. So basically, all in, I came home with some select components of that far too expensive box set. Oh, I got a gold bug. Yeah, boy. This is so much nicer than the Bumblebee. Yes, I'm one of those people that was lucky enough to get given, no less, I didn't even have to pay for it, it was a present, the Netflix Volkswagen Bumblebee, but this one, the gold and that noggin, it's so much nicer, just for being shiny, and look at his little face. That's nice. I also got with him the toy head for kickback. Like, what a weird thing. It's totally like unadvertised, you know, it doesn't tell you about it on the box or anything. You just open it up, and in there are extra heads for everyone but Goldbug. So the Ransack comes with a kickback head. Why? Wow, okay, we're going to be doing alternate heads from now on. I'm kind of okay with that. That's something I'd be down with, but like, that's so weird, isn't it? Just to have all these heads in there, bundled in with all the guns and everything. Anyway, I wanted the toy head for kickback because G1 Kickback is my favourite Insecticon. It's such a good classic toy. The proper black visor and the less silver, lighter yellow that isn't painted, so you don't have to worry about moving them around where it's all rubbery, and on the normal head you just feel like it's not good, is it? You know, when you're moving around painted rubbery bits, that's never nice. So yeah, I was glad to stick that on there and make my kickback a bit more like how I'd ideally want him to be, and I've spruced up his feet there as well. Revamping, or at least slightly breathing a little bit of new life into a toy that is not old at all, but I already became quite bored with quite quickly. You know, like I was saying, mainline legacy, dropping the ball a little bit. It's, I don't know, there's something about some of these that's making me lose interest. Before we get to the very last bits, I'm going to go over here and talk to you about some add-on kits that I got, because our Mike who you know I'm good friends with. We had a good chat and hang out in a game of the TFTCG card game on the Saturday night when he'd finally finished manning the stall. I picked up one of the non-F sets from his, well, one of two of actually. It's both of the Wheeljack sets from the non-F Productions peeps over on his stall. So I can give Wheeljack his proper like see-through wings and a choice of toy shoulder cannons. I've got an exhaust here, or the cartoony thingy there, and some spanners and a gun, and it's all just good extra bits to, once again, like with Kickback, breathe a bit of life into a figure which I want to like more, but I'm very aware I don't like as much as I want to. Earthrise Wheeljack is all right. He's not great. I'd really like them to do a new Wheeljack mould already, but that's not going to happen, is it? Because they're going to repack him in Legacy at some point, apparently. So, you know, we're going to have at least another, like, 2 years of this being Wheeljack, aren't we? So, might as well spend a bit of money and make him a little bit better. We can now move on to some weird stuff and what might be one of those kind of surprise gems of the weekend for me. So, right kind of at the end on Sunday afternoon, while I was having a look around with Wads, we were at one stall and the guy says everything in that tub is £1, and I'm like, mate, you've got a Classics Perceptor in there, and you only want £1 for it? Yeah, go on then. These are rare, and to find one for £1, especially while I'm in that kind of I like Perceptor mood, it was like, yeah, I know, that's very nice, and it felt like the complete bargain. It's like I've got so much out of just that £1 that I gave the guy for this. Love it. And what made it even better was that he threw in something else that I noticed in that £1 tub for nothing. So I got both of these for £1, just because I was the only person who knew what it was, apparently. This is Select Converters Tanker, who is, and you're going, what the bloody hell is that? This is the third mecha from the Dorvac series, which gave you the robots that would become Whirl and Roadbuster, but they didn't pick this one up to be a Transformer, so he's just sort of left as this oddity that was very nearly one. And this is a kind of knockoff, undersized, simpler version of him, or at least, you know, that, because it's just a piloted mech that doesn't even have a head. Such a strange thing to just find randomly, you know. And because I knew what it was, and the bloke was like, wow, you're the first person to actually recognise that, so I'm going to let you have it. And then me and Wads went to the bar and looked up more about it, and it was hilarious because his name is Bonaparte Tulkus. That mech. Anyway, you know, this is just Tanker, boring old Tanker. But yeah, the original was called Bonaparte Tulkus. And yeah, he's missing bits, you know, like he should have another orange bit up here and some guns sticking out here and like missiles and things. And he's absolutely knackered and wibbly, but he does still turn into a strange little tank that's all sort of squished, and is kind of reminiscent of Armada Demolisher, actually. And to have had that little moment where it was like, just sit there in the bar, the few of us like, oh yeah, look, it's that guy, isn't it? Oh my god. Yeah, that's great. And Dan, if you're still out there, I know you would appreciate me picking up a Select Converter of a Dorvac mecha. So there you go. And that's it. That's your lot. That's the TFN haul. Finally got it out of the way on the camera for you to look at. Far too late. More than a month away from when I got it all. But it's done now. I hope that allowed you to bask in a little bit of the vibes from the weekend if you weren't there, or to relive some if you were. It was good to just hang out with some old people, some new people as well. Got to say, it was so good to see Jim McCanny and Go Andy Robo as well. Two guys came over from the States, and it was like, oh wow, it was just really special to see them in the flesh, meet them for real. Big shout out to them for coming all this way. I know they were saying that, you know, they were having a really special time, and that everyone there made them feel really welcome and everything, but no, you coming to us made us have a special time. So until we meet again, thank you, good night, much love.